And fittingly to a capacity crowd to greet as fine a team of British players as could be assembled under the captaincy of Terry Cobner. 345 caps between them, every one a British Lion, and each one too a household name in rugby. The 1977 Lions pack, and virtually a world back division behind. What more need be said? Moseley at full strength, a team unbeaten in all 16 matches this season, and a club that's not lost here since the early days of 1976 season. Outstanding, the centre pairing of Corless and Swain, who worked so well yesterday. Potential England half-back partnership for this season, perhaps in Chris Gifford and Martin Cooper, and a well-knit pack in which it's worth keeping an eye on young Nick Jeavons, a player bidding strongly for the England number 8 shirt. And on this day of tribute to a great player, the international referee Norman Sanson in charge of proceedings. Cooper. Martin calls. Wheeler steadies it up. Edwards. Bennett. Over the head of Peter Beddoes, Meanwell behind him. Gary Owen. It's well placed with a lot of hang in the air, but JPR Williams immediately sets off on one of those inimitable runs. The pack drive over. Wheeler comes in the way of Edwards, kicks through. Cooper gathers. Wheeler regains it. Alan Martin. Edwards. Neat dummy. JPR Williams, this is menacing now. JPR Williams looks inside for support. He had men outside. Perhaps they were masked. Still, the invitation side driving 5 metres out, but the ball smuggled by Moseley and cleared by Barry Corless. Cobner, Quinnell. Tony Neary, the back row. Barrier. Martin very quickly through to spoil, though. And the ball knocked on, and Moseley get the scrummage. Chris Gifford waiting as the ball is wheeled by the invitation side, and Edwards breaks inside to Neary. Support from Cobner. Cobner the dummy, over the line, and the try. And that was a gem, really, of a try, with Gareth Edwards making the initial break. The sharpness of the burst through to Tony Neary, who really made the try with the cut back inside. And there was his fellow flanker, Terry Cobner, strong on the break, carrying the ball over the line and touching it down for the first try, and I'm sure not the last of this match, as the invitation side goes 7 points ahead after 22.5 minutes. Gifford straightening the scrummage, and I'm sure Moseley would like the quick put in. Good strike by Cox against Peter Wheeler. Jeavons held by Cobner, well gathered by Chris Gifford. Bennett chases, eventually brings his man down. Cooper's there. Gerald Davies, 8 metres out. The home supporters cheer Moseley as they drive over towards the line. Can they win the loose ball? And the Moseley half-back pair working well together. The break by Chris Gifford, and racing up in support Martin Cooper. So a chance for Moseley, 5 metres out. Doing well at the scrummage. Jeavons controlling the heel. Gifford, Cooper, the run round with Swain. Corless, a try surely for Beddoes. It's there, what a try. And it was the great efforts by the pack that produced the fine heel, the channeled ball by Jeavons down the line, and then the work by Corless and Swain together, making the overlap for Peter Beddoes for a try that brings great cheers to the Moseley supporters. Ayre and Martin at the back. Martin wins it. Edwards, Bennett, Cotton. England teammate Neary on his elbow. Smuggling possession now, perfectly back from Martin. Edwards for the corner. Beddoes the try scorer, though, with time to touch it down for the dropout. Hanging dropout from the boot of Cooper. Quinnell rather loosely back, but Edwards gets a lovely service to Bennett. Oh, straight through. Clean as a whistle, Bennett through that gap. Gerald Davies, 10 metres out. Davies looking for Irvine. He finds him, and Irvine scores in the corner. That was sheer class by all three. Bennett really the man that made it after Edwards managed to feed the ball out to him. And with a Moseley player converging on either side, Bennett just put on that step of speed that took him clean through like a knife through butter. And there was Gerald Davies in support, and more, I think, in luck than by judgment, throwing the long ball over to Andy Irvine to score in the corner. A fine try. From the touchline then, Phil Bennett with the conversion attempt. Curling it in, but not sufficiently. The final kick of the first half, and a game played in exactly the right spirit. A serious game of rugby, providing tremendous entertainment and quality football for the spectators, and the invitation side then leading 13 points to 6. And the badge there of this Rugby Union Writers Club, Invitation 15, proudly worn there on the breast of Bill Beaumont. Russell Field first, then Beaumont second. And it's Alan Martin leading the drive. And there it is for Edwards. Phil Bennett, Irvine poised on the inside. Spotted, though, by John White, the flanker. From Beaumont, Edwards dummies first time, Bennett second time, clean through. Welsh halfback magic. Oh, and the final touch. Who else but Phil Bennett in concert with Gareth Edwards, and that's a glorious touch of class rugby. Neat little try that. Edwards the break after the feed from Bill Beaumont, the half dummy that just stopped the Moseley defence in their tracks and gave Phil Bennett the little gap, which he took without hesitation and round the posts. The final little touch of the dummy to score under the posts and make that lead now 19 points to 9. And Peter Wheeler leaves the field, and a delighted Bobby Windsor gets his chance. He threatened he was only here as replacement scrum half, but here he is back as hooker with Peter Wheeler. Well, he didn't look too badly injured, but it's nice to see Windsor on the field as Moseley restart. Windsor there with number 16 on his shirt. And, of course, hooker with Peter Wheeler on the Lions tour during the summer. Edwards unfailingly to Bennett. Beddoes, that's a lovely gather from above his head. What a run by Beddoes. Finally, Cobner comes in with the tackle. Edwards. Quinnell to JPR Williams. Squires outside now. Inside it comes again to JPR Williams. What handling and passing. Steve Fenwick looks for support on the wide outside. Gerald Davies waits for the bounce, feeds long to Andy Irvine. The race for the corner. What a tackle, though, by Swain. Almost on the Moseley line. There it is again. Edwards, Bennett, a man over now. Gerald Davies, Fenwick, Squires, chips through, and it's Squires that gets it. The chip through from Steve Fenwick was perfectly placed, and finally there just were no Moseley men left to cover it. So a well-executed try after a magnificent build-up. The loose ball fed back on the Moseley line almost, and Edwards with the little run across, but the extra man really apparent all the way through, and finally from Steve Fenwick, the little chip through which Squires had anticipated and covered over the line for the try that really makes that quite a commanding lead now, 23 points to 9. The tap signal and the drive. Jeavons caught. Gifford. Over the head of just about everybody, and Meanwell not gathering it first time. Corless with the pickup. Thrown forward, advantage to the invitation team. Phil Bennett, Gareth Edwards, Gerald Davies. And the invitation side really stringing the passes together, and what a run by Gerald Davies. 3 men beaten. So quick, no one really there to come up in support, that the ball's loose in front of the Moseley posts. Phil Bennett has it, checks, switches to JPR Williams, but Meanwell had come up to mark his opposite number. Tony Neary now to Edwards. Again, the spun pass to Bennett. Gerald Davies once more, and Irvine. That tackle by Alan Thomas saved the try. Meters out. And the delay on the put-in. Well, a new combination, Windsor and Edwards, and a few words between them there. Moseley will be glad to get the relief of the penalty. Meanwell, that very useful left boot, but not putting it out this time. Off goes JPR. Switches with Andy Irvine. Irvine shimmies one way, caught on the Moseley 10-metre line. Cobner, Edwards, Fenwick. A try perhaps on now. Gerald Davies. There's no answer to that, and it's Squires in the corner. His try number 2, and really Gerald Davies. What more can you say? So the kind of rugby that the crowd here at the Readings came to see, and that was a classic try. The brilliance of Gerald Davies, the crucial factor that saw him make the overlap and finally, unselfishly indeed, send in Peter Squires for his second try of the game. Just outside the Moseley 22, Alan Martin, Edwards, Bennett, Gerald Davies thriving in the centre. JPR Williams to Andy Irvine, going for the wide outside run, but cuts inside. JPR Williams, seemingly indestructible. And there's the ball. In goes Windsor. My word. Steve Fenwick, Gerald Davies. Bennett in the outside centre position. Clean through yet again. Bennett still, and it's a solo try for Bennett. Really, this man has magic in his feet. For Bennett, 17 points now in the total of some 33. And the kind of rugby, I suppose, one would have wished to have seen throughout the summer. But it's still there, and Phil Bennett at his magical best. Hanging long in the air, Beaumont sets it back. Edwards, Phil Bennett in real confident mood. Swain unable to stem the tide. Cobner comes through. Meanwell gathers. The indefatigable Terry Cobner. Steve Fenwick, JPR Williams, JPR Williams pinning his ears back up to the 22 he goes. Taken on by Cotton. And Moseley do well. Swain gets support. Bert Greaves. Meanwell now. Irvine goes back. Squires in support. Good tackle by Meanwell. There's Squires though. And Gerald Davies. Magic again. What a delight. Fran Cotton, Bobby Windsor, Graham Price, the whole front row in this move. Brave tackling by Thomas and by Corless. But the Lions make it into the corner, and it's Neary the scorer. It had to come, but with what style. The score really matters little. The quality of the rugby we're witnessing does. The 24th minute of the second half. Moseley reeling, but what else can they do against an onslaught of this calibre? And what a feast of rugby for this capacity crowd. Windsor takes it. Bennett to Fenwick. Gerald Davies with JPR looming large outside, and Irvine on the end of the line. Shadowed well by Alan Thomas. Brought down by Malcolm Swain. Quinnell. Yet again Quinnell, and now Irvine. Steve Fenwick. Eventually to Gifford. A chance now for Moseley, perhaps. Cooper sends long to Malcolm Swain. Cooper inside. There's Barry Corless. Corless out to Beddoes. The try is deserved. Corless is over the line and he has the try. And what a delight to the crowd. And that midfield trio of Cooper, Corless and Swain working so well together and still contriving to use every little bit of ball that comes their way. And though it seemed the try had been stopped, Swain, Corless and Beddoes too combined to put the try in for Corless and bring some greater respectability to that Moseley scoreline. Jeavons, Warren to Cooper direct. Good run, up to the halfway. Bennett chasing Cooper. Inside it goes to Barry Corless. Swain, the link man again. And there's still fight in this Moseley team. Steve Fenwick lies injured on the deck, but Moseley run again. Cooper, Swain, Meanwell, the replacement, Watson-Jones against Irvine. Beautifully flipped up by Barry Ayre, and Meanwell gets try number 3 for Moseley. And what a comeback. So in the 30th minute of this second half, Moseley really show what a team of character they are. Coming back from an almost impossible position, and again it was Cooper who led the way. So Moseley's unbeaten record of this season clearly about to be finished, but in a way it's a very special game and they'll be happy that it went in such style. Fenwick, JPR Williams, Peter Squires. Cusworth tries to get the tackle in. The loose ball to Cooper again. Still Moseley try. Beddoes it is, keeping it in play. Edwards is back there. And a real contest this has been from start to finish. And one must pay tribute to the effort of this Moseley side. How well they've played in spite of that 18-point deficit. Edwards, Bennett, scissors with Gerald Davies, and off he goes. One way, then the other, bewildering. And that surely rounds off this match. Vintage TGR Davies, who has really stolen the limelight. Injury time being played out now. Bill Beaumont gets into the act with Fran Cotton. Edwards, Bennett, Gerald Davies, JPR Williams, Steve Fenwick, and still Moseley tackle. That was Watson Jones, but there's no stopping the Invitation side now. Bennett, and a long run and chase for Peter Squires. Meanwell covering, and out of play, the final whistle goes. What a magnificent rugby occasion. Superb performances by Moseley and by the Rugby Writers Invitation 15. And the most fitting tribute there could be to the memory of the dearly loved Sam Doble.